Okay. So we would start now. We would ask Auntie Elizabeth to do us the honor with a prayer, after which we will introduce the session today, and then we would begin our conversation. So, Auntie Elizabeth, if you can hear me, please kindly unmute yourself and help us with the opening prayer. Auntie Elizabeth, if you are, please, if you can hear me.
Faithful.
Okay.
Shall we pray in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for yet another day. We are grateful to you for being with us throughout the week and throughout all what you have done. Father, this evening we want to learn again. We pray that you send for the Holy Spirit to be upon us, guide the facilitators, guide the panelists, so that we will have a fruitful discussion. Holy Spirit, sit in the chair, that this session will be fruitful. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please, can we unmute and respond to this powerful prayer, or just type in the chat?
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you so much, Auntie Elizabeth. Thank you so much. You can respond to the amen in the chat. Thank you so much. Great. Once again, we're happy to have all of us here this evening. This evening promises to be an extraordinary evening where we delve into understanding some of the critical issues around us as we try to work in the school environment. The school environment is belabored with a lot of issues, a lot of challenges, a lot of concerns, a lot of agitations, a lot of very difficult decisions to make. And sometimes one would feel like if we do not get help, if we do not get support, we don't even know where we are heading towards. So even though we in Cares Consults have been taking time to delve with the various issues, the various topics, the various triggering platforms conversation, we have decided as a group to pay attention to some of the things that are very important and that will lead us to making us get to where we want to get to, and that is the conversation of listening to the people who are in that crisis, who are in that place, who are in the forefront. What are the challenges? What are the struggles that they face? What are the teasing issues that they come by? And that is what we want to listen to. That is what we want to see if we could provide some response to. So today's happen to be an open forum where we expect all of us to have our questions written down. Our questions written down because we want the questions to be spot on. We have some of us who would be on the panel to help us listen to some of these questions and try to provide and help with some solutions or answers to some of the teasing questions that would come out. And then also the whole floor is also open for other non-panel members to also come in with recommendations and suggestions as to what they think are responses for these. So today is an open forum. Please feel free. I'll just allow us all to take a moment to write down one or two questions that have been of concern, that have been of issue to us, and hope that based on that we will be able to get some very good questions here and also get very good responses. And so Let's all take a moment to look at our questions. What are the teaching areas? If you are in the area of administration in school, if you are in the areas of management in school, you are in the areas of leadership, supervision, teaching role, whatever role you have as in the school, it is time for us to now have that conversation and see what and how it would help us to be able to get to that level we want to get to. So please, let's prepare our questions. We'll all be given opportunity to ask questions. So the rubrics for the session is that we are going to have 10 sets of questions asked, and then after the 10 questions have been asked, or 5 of the questions have been asked, we'll call on the panelists, or we open the forum for some feedback or responses to be attempted on these questions. So that is how we intend to run it. Great. Thank you. A lot more people are joining. We are happy to have all of you. You are welcome. A lot more people are joining. Great. So let's note our questions. Let's quickly note our questions. And then we would make that move. Let's note our questions. Thank you so much for all those who are joining us. In a moment, I will be introducing some few of our panelists we have, so that we would all be able to know them and work with them. Okay. Great. So, my dear school leaders, for the purpose of this evening, as I said earlier, we would have one of our own Etonam, who is on the panel. So, for the purpose of this evening, we have our own Etonam who is on the panel. Dede is also on the panel, and we are grateful to have some other. Mr. Gansen is also on the panel with us. As we unfold, we would be introducing some of the other panelists who have not been here at the moment with us. So we could start. My dear school leaders, my dear teachers, I know this evening is a very difficult one. Our lights are all off, but we will still try and share. I would want us to make up some few questions here. If your question is something you cannot actually get to us, kindly write it in the chat, and then we would help you with that. So please, let's feel free and then come up with our questions. So the floor is open for our first set of questions. I'll be checking the chat, or Godwin will help us with the chat, and then help us to see the messages that have come in at the moment. So if you are ready, you kindly raise your hand, and then you'll be called for you to help us, or to help come up with your first question. Anyone who is ready, please kindly raise up your hand, and then we'll ask you to unmute and go ahead with your questions. Any question concerning classroom teaching and learning, concerning academics, management, anything that concerns teaching and learning, concerning school administration that you are challenged with, the opportunity is now for you to. Okay, so there's a question. What are the most important skills? Okay, let me just get it the full question. Message. Saloma, Godwin, are you able to take up the question for us? The question in the chat. Okay, so there is a question in the chat which says, what are the most important skills or values you think we should focus on in school? What are the most important skills or values you think we should focus on? Okay, great. So there's a first question there. Okay, there's a hand up here. Please, can you unmute yourself and let's go, please.
Hello. Good
Hi.
evening to all of us on the platform, and especially to Professor Kingsley and our panelists. Please, my question is that the new curriculum, the way it came about, it looks like teachers are still not well equipped with how to practically teach the way it is expected in the new curriculum. I wanted to find out if the panelists have any idea of maybe some links or some trainings or something that can actually help equip teachers to practically teach the way it is expected in the new curriculum. And I have a second question. I don't know if I can ask that also now or later.
Please follow up with that.
Okay.
Feel free.
My follow-up question also is on the questioning techniques that I used. You know, the way we used to ask questions in the old curriculum is a bit different from the way the new curriculum questions are. So that's one too. Is there any training that could be done for teachers to assist them to know how to do that correctly? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any other question apart from the ones we have in the chat? We would also add those ones to it. Any other one that anybody want to unmute and then go ahead with it? Great. Thank you very much. That's a very heavy one on the new curriculum. I'm sure our panelists are processing, and so they would give us very good responses to these questions. Please, any other question on any area? We have had our first two questions from the curriculum. We've also had one from the, let me see whether I can pick the ones in the chat. Okay, so great. So we have questions on important skills and values, okay, that we need to focus on in school. And then we have, I said, please, how can we get our facilitators to value progressive development? Okay, progressive development. And then how can we make learning more relevant and engaging? Learning more relevant. Okay, so Wanam, Ellen, please, you've raised your hand. Kindly go ahead, unmute yourself and speak. How do you manage a child who always disturbs the class? Okay, Wanam.
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, yes, I also have a question, and that is, how do we handle a learner who always insists on getting something? And if you don't give that learner, he or she wouldn't participate in any activity in the classroom.
Okay, okay, something. And if not, will not participate. Okay, okay, great, 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 great. So I think we have quite a number of questions we would want to pause and then ask some responses. So my dear panelists, the floor is open. Any of the questions you want to pick up? We have the new curriculum. What help do we have for teachers who have still not been able to grasp their way out to be able to do? Are there some links, recommended sites they can get help? In terms of question techniques in the new curriculum, how questions are supposed to be asked, how they're supposed to be answered, how are there any opportunities where we can get to help teachers with? What are the important skills and values you are supposed to focus on? What is progressive development? How do we get our teachers to look at that? Okay, Eto Nam's hand is up. Eto, please go ahead. Eto, please unmute yourself and speak, sir.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
Lovely school leaders and facilitators. It's a wonderful time to meet this evening. All right, let me go straight to, let me pick something on the skills. Someone asks, what is the most important values or skills we need to focus on in our schools? You know, there are a lot of skills and values that are available to us as school leaders and as facilitators. But we need to look at some of the, how do you call it? The 21st century skills that are needed for a school to progress. For example, cultural competency, information literacy. You know, the world is moving so fast that if a school is not having structures to be able to develop the skills in information technology, and then a school is being run using the traditional method of giving instructions and managing a school, the school cannot move well in this era of digitalization. We can also look at self-awareness. These are under the social and emotional learning competencies: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision making. So if we are able to inculcate these values in our children, let them identify who they are and give them self-awareness. If you are aware of yourself, you'll be able to fit and operate in every environment. Self-management is a very important skill that we need to acquire as facilitators, as school leaders, and as learners. If you are not able to manage yourself, you will not be able to manage others. So it's a very important skills. We can also look at, when we come to soft skills, we can look at emotional regulation. Emotional regulations, emotional issues are very critical issues when it comes to teaching and learning. If emotions are not managed very well, we'll realize that we'll not be able to provide quality environment for effective teaching and learning. Everything that you do, people will find fault, people will push back, learners will not participate in the lessons and all that. So we need to look at that area very well. Another area that will go to school leaders and facilitators is financial literacy. Financial literacy that is lacking in our educational establishment. Financial literacy, for example, if someone is working at a bank, not that the person takes more than what a teacher takes, but they are taught as part of their training right from school. You are taught how to manage personal finance. So you realize that a lot of people, a lot of teachers are saying they are not motivated. Not that what they take, but how they manage it is another area. We can look at critical thinking and analysis. If this skills is not well incorporated in our curriculum, critical thinking and analysis, both on the children and then the facilitators, we will not be able to have effective teaching and learning in our school. Let me end it on this by bringing in empathy and compassion. Everything that we do as a school, we should be able to incorporate empathy and compassion in our daily activities. On the curriculum, quickly let me touch on that before on the curriculum, every new thing that is introduced, it needs to be practiced. It needs to be, a lot of time has to be dedicated to that. Because when you look at even the definition of learning by Morgan Kane and Robinson, 1979, it says what? Learning is any relatively change in behavior as a result of practice and experience. So this is a new document that is before us. It is now left with school leaders to put all their resources together and invest into their teachers. If they are able to invest, have a regular professional development and dedicate time for training of their teachers on the new curriculum, everybody will grasp it and be able to use it effectively in our schools. So I urge all school leaders, I urge all facilitators, you have to develop a skills of researching, search, research, and continue to search and research. If now you are not able to do that, we will still be marking time. To me, where I am now, to me, we shouldn't even be saying if we were able to invest a lot into the training, we shouldn't be calling this curriculum a new curriculum at this time, because it has been with us for some time now. So I urge all of us to invest time, resources, money, invite resource persons to your schools, let them guide your teachers, and then we'll be able to get used to the curriculum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Atonam. We are grateful. Panelist member who would want to address any of the other questions that have been posed here, please, you can go ahead. If you need help with the questions too, I can help, but it's in our chat. The people want to know whether how we can help facilitators to value progressive development, and then also the learning relevance, manage a child who always disturb a class, insist on getting something, if not, he or she will not pay attention. How an interesting question here is, how do we help manage attrition rate in my school due to delayed payment of salaries? Please, any other panelist member would want to throw light on these areas? or any other person on the floor who would want to throw light on these areas. Okay. So I think that on the question of a school leader wanting to have support or information on what he or she can do with attrition rates in her school due to delay in the payment of salary, I think that the first thing is that there has been already a recognition and identified problem. The problem is known already. The problem is known, and the problem is that salaries are not being paid on time. But if the challenge is that it's because we also are not able to get the money on time, that is why we are not able to pay salary on time, then I think that we should work very hard and very smart to be able to make sure that we get 1 month's salary ahead of the other months. So if we are in the month of October and we are paying October's salary should be ready in September, so that we do not have to hassle so much to get the salaries of another month ahead. We also need to know that it will be very prudent if we have a particular date or 2 or 3 dates range for which salaries should be paid. So for instance, in some schools, some of the best practices is that between 25th to about 27th or 28th, within these days, salaries are being paid, these 3 days. So they don't go beyond these dates, and they try as much as possible that between this period it is paid. Some schools too do 25th to 30th. So within this period, 5 days, salary is paid. So we should be able to communicate right to teachers to know when to expect these salaries. Usually it is very seemingly unprofessional when it is getting to the end of the month and teachers begin to ask questions, when are we going to pay? Because the school has not been able to build a practice and a culture of paying within a particular period, which has been communicated officially to the people and they know about it. So I think that one of the things we can do is to come up with a clear structure on when and how salaries will be paid. And then also we should work as a school to ensure that, because the school's month for a term is 4 months and not 3 months, we should save and make sure that for every month we have what will be used to pay the previous month or the next month already there, so that we do not have any challenges with these payments. I also would like to touch on the issue of valuing progressive development. So in the line of school, especially with the early years, we know that development, or the children are in twofold. They are into development and learning. It is those 2 areas that one needs to focus on. And so we cannot focus on learning and then leave development. So development is as key as learning, and we need to focus on it. But you see, when a child comes to school, he or she is supposed to build whatever he's doing progressively. We need to look out for what progress is the learner making, and not an absolute excellence or a one-time success. And so that is why continuous assessment is very critical, and continuous assessment which take into account the daily scores or performances of the learner is more important than looking at the entire summative assessment for end of term, end of midterm, end of week or something. We need to look at what progress is the learner making. And the progress is what is very critical, because when the progress is followed through, you will be able to see what success the learner has chalked. Now, let me give an instance like this. When we look at our schools at the moment, we realize that our SBA document helps us to record some few scores for class exercise, some few scores for homework, and some few scores for class test or whatever. Now, imagine you are doing 10 weeks and you have 4 periods every week. We are looking at a total number of exercise of about 40, which is the ideal scenario. And so a minimum of 30 will be what will be expected of everybody, or the unexpected number of 30 will be expected from everybody. Now, if the teacher had not performed at all, he should have done of the 40. Now, with the 20 scores that you have, it is 20 on each day per the week. So you look at it today, mathematics. What did the child get? I enter it somewhere. Tomorrow, what is he getting? Is he making an improvement of what he got yesterday, or he is retrogressing? Those daily outputs of the learning outcome is what is used to determine the progress the learner is making. And so we need to observe the daily outcomes to help us see the needed progress or otherwise which the learner is making for us to be able to support the learner. And so we need to go back and look at how best do our teachers or facilitators monitor these daily progress, these daily records, so that we can be able to support the learner where he or she is not making the right progress, to get the right intervention and support to be able to make up for that. I think that Dede is here. She would want to say something. Dede, are you there?
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
Yes.
Please.
To
everyone on this wonderful meeting. I had some network challenges at the beginning, but I think it's stable now, so I can equally speak to some few things. I don't know if what I captured here was the right thing, but I think the person was trying to ask progressive development for their teachers. So I think for the teachers developing themselves and not being boxed up in whatever qualification or certificate or knowledge they came into the classroom with. If that's what I captured right anyway. But since you've addressed for the learners, I would want to also address for the teachers. One thing that we miss out on as school leaders, as directors, maybe as school owners and all of that, is sometimes having genuine care for our teachers. We tend to almost always have that cautiousness for parents and maintaining the children and keeping our numbers, but we forget that our teachers are equally our customers. Same way that our parents are customers, our learners are customers, we forget that our teachers are equal stakeholders. As much as possible that we try to have strategies to increase our numbers, have strategies to get our learners to progress, there should be strategies to get the teachers along. And having that genuineness for their development is, I think, the beginning and the first step to take in order to get them along. Now, if they know that, some school leaders have that notion that, oh, if I train them, they will leave and take the skills to another school. I am equally not bothered about that because it's a broad spectrum. We are training children for the future. If you train a teacher to go into a different school, it's training another child that you or maybe your generation would go and meet. So the genuineness to train them, then that's the first step to take. So what plans do you have to develop your teachers? You don't just tell them, go to school, upgrade yourself, but as an institution, as a leader, what plan do you have for them? Now, your plan will draw them into their own plans. Then you can have some non-negotiables for them. So yesterday, there was an extensive discussion about code of conduct for teachers on the page. I didn't comment, but I was reading most of the comments on it. there should be some non-negotiables for you as a proprietor for the institution. What do you look out for in a teacher? What plans do you have as a teacher? How long does the qualification that a teacher brings in have to take? What are the plans that a teacher has? All that should be documented. And documentation is an integral part of the work that we do. So I would say that for progressive development to be something that teachers should desire, there should be some non-negotiable. Somebody comes in with a diploma, he say, okay, within this time period, there should be some change, or this and this and this is what I want to see. And follow through, like you follow through for the learners, follow through for the teachers, and have a school-based training outline for them. A school-based training outline where you decide to detect things that are lacking for them, like the curriculum thing. Mr. Raphael rightly said, it's not the new curriculum anymore, it's an old curriculum. So if you detect that there are challenges, then you tailor in some form of training for them, and it should be non-negotiable because it should be part of their CPD. Now, CPDs are being documented before you are given licensure. In some countries, you should be able to do some level of CPDs before you are awarded some level of achievement or a certificate. So it should be non-negotiable. We are having a training and you are not supposed to opt out. This is what we've detected, and we're bringing somebody in to train you on it. There should be some training, curriculum, emotional intelligence. There should be a wide array of targets by the school at the beginning of an academic year that they would want to train teachers on. We shouldn't always think about the benefits that we would have, but it's a humanitarian institution. As much as we would love to, there's profit attached. But the work that we are doing is broad, is more of humanitarian than any other thing that's attached is the benefits. So for progressive development for the teachers, please have a genuine desire for them. And I believe that once they see that genuineness, they will come along to want to develop themselves. And we should just do away with we not wanting to train them or they having to pay. If it becomes necessary for them to pay, why not? But there should be that genuineness, not to exploit them, but have genuineness for the teachers. Then I would also want to talk about the questioning skills for the new curriculum. Critical thinking is an integral part of the new curriculum. Even out of critical thinking, questioning should be tailored to getting creativity out of the children. And I think we've grown in our educational space to know that some questions come in their levels. So we know the Bloom taxonomy kind of questions. For those of us who are not privileged to, like Mr. Raphael rightly said, I'll still go back there to researching on the Bloom's taxonomy way of asking questions. But we should move out of just the simple recall questions into having to get our teachers' questioning skills in such a way that they elicit more than just simple recall from the children. And if you're a school leader, I would say pay keen attention into the kind of questions that goes into the classroom. If it's an assessment, if it's a test, if it's an examination, end of term, midterm, anyhow, there should be some keen interest in that, because mind you, your questions are not only for the school. The learners have they are social beings and they have social circles outside the school. So your questions are going outside the school. We've seen Kelewele vendors use some schools' questions, and sometimes you can just look at the question and say, hey, is it a school's question? So that should be the broad mindset we have about questions, that it's not only an internal consumption, but it's an external feature, and we need to pay keen attention. And for the teachers, equally, your question speaks about who you are. So you train yourself to ask learners questions. Sometimes we are afraid to inculcate critical thinking questions because learners tend not to do well in that. But it equally helps because at the end of the day, once you are testing them, look at GES questions, the BEC questions, and sometimes you think that, wow, is this questions really training our children for the future? Because one thing that we need to know is that we are not training our children for now. AI is erupting, technology is advancing. Are you sure you are training your children to meet their future? And your question, does it speak to the future? So, critical thinking questions, creativity questions, questions that elicit, though there should be a blend for all learners, but even with differentiated learning, there are levels of questions that addresses every learner's way of comprehending content. So as much as possible, we vet our questions, we go through, we make them change what is not right in there. It's difficult. Sometimes it's at the very last minute, but we need to do it because we are training people for the future. It is not just about us. It's not about our pride. It's not about our knowledge. Our work is one step at a time, always at it. Learning never stops for us. So we need to be very, very cautious when we do certain things or when we inculcate certain things, certain questions that do not align with our learning goals for the future. So the questioning skills is deliberately learned. It's deliberately learned, and we shouldn't be afraid that they will fail. No, it's better to fail internally than to have learners go out. Now, what do people say about your school when they go out? It's equally important. People complete JHS, they go into the SHS, and you see the kind of schools that they are coming from and the kind of foundations that they have. What do people say, or what will people say about your learners when they go out of your school and meet different sets of questions? So let's try as much as possible. If there are trainings to do, let's do them. Some of the things you don't need to bring an external person, you can show it to them. Have meetings and a series of discussions about it so that everybody is learning. Once you throw it to the teachers, once you throw it to an administrator, a supervisor, HOD, this is what I want us to do. This is the kind of questions I want. Let's go and learn about this. Let's discuss. Let's practicalize. Have accountability partners, and we are on it. So let's do well too. Please look at that. And then important skills and values for our schools. Yes, the values are broad. When you come into a school as a teacher, you have a mindset. Apart from the money, there should be something on your heart that you want to see in children. When you establish a school as a school leader, there should be something on your heart that you want to do as a proprietor establishing a school. My director always says that our work is like the work on the pulpit. And it's true because we need to transform human beings. We may see them as little, but there's a whole generation that we are handling there for each learner. So the values must transcend beyond our personal gains into something that would contribute into their future as much as possible. That is personally for each individual here. What values do you want to see your learners go out with? What do you want people to say about the learners that go out of your school? What do you want people to say about learners that go out of your class? What do you want people to say about your learners when they meet them anywhere? Those should be the contributing factors to deciding the values and the skills that we tailor for them, in addition to what Mr. Raphael said. So, Mr. Adri, thank you very much. I think these are the things I would want to address for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Auntie Priscilla. Sorry, thank you very much. We are grateful today. Great. So we still have some more time for questions. Can we have the next set of questions? I don't know whether we have exhausted all the questions that were raised in here so far. Okay, Great. Can we have another set of questions coming in so that we can also do justice to them? Uncle Ralph, you had your hand up earlier. Would you want to make a comment now?
I've dropped it now. So I think because of time, let's move on.
Okay, so please, can we have another set of questions? Questions around. So let me also quickly say that with the concern on the new curriculum, which today I think that almost all our panelists are concluding that it is actually not a new curriculum again. We did throw some polls out there, and we are convinced that beginning January, we would want to organize CPD on the curriculum. We want to organize something on the curriculum because we realize that even though teachers are teaching, there are certain things that they would still need help in line with the curriculum, especially when it comes to the pedagogy. All that we need to know about the curriculum. Thank you very much. So the floor is open for questions. Please, it is question time. Great. Please check an address, madam. Okay. Question very important. Which question is that one? Somebody, Legacy is asking us to check and address a question from someone. Godwin, can you help us identify the exact question he's talking about? But yet the floor is open. Please, I am beginning to feel like we do not have questions at all.
I think, hello?
Yes.
The question is coming from Madam Elizabeth Ifuakwashi. How can I manage attrition rate? I think it has been answered.
Okay, so Mr. Desmond. Desmond Legacy. I don't know what exactly you want us to say about that. Yes. Said my question was answered. So Aunt Elizabeth says her question was answered. But if you did not hear okay, said all right, noted. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on. Any other question, please? Questions. Either we use the chat or we raise our hands and then you are called to ask the question, please. Any question concerning teaching and learning? Any question in line with supervision? Your headmaster remarked for you in your lesson notes book, whatever it is has to do with administration, teacher conduct, a letter that has been written to you telling you that you acted in a manner that was not accepted. Anything it could be. Okay. Good. Am I to take it that teachers as school leaders do not have a lot of questions sitting unanswered, undealt with? Okay, so there's a question: how can we create a more inclusive and supportive learning environment? Wow, how can we create a more inclusive and supporting learning environment? Thank you very much, Veronica. Okay, we'll look at it. Yes, Mr. Amuzu Adebayo, please unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening, senior leaders and colleagues. Mr. Kingsley, senior man, thank you for the opportunity. Hello.
Thank you very much, my brother. You can go ahead.
Great. I have a serious concern of how we can help our learners now to amplify or explore their performance in mathematics. I have a very serious concern. I just want to ask how we leaders, down from our seniors, down to way school heads, teachers, how can we make it to get a better grade when it comes to the subject mathematics? Down from the preschool, lower up to junior high school at our level as it is now. Because I begin to feel that in our days, in our time, how mathematics, the approach, talking about the mental and other things, and that perhaps can easily sharpen our brain, talking about the accuracy and the speed level. We are no more feeling that. That experience is really totally down now. And so as a result of that, the results are not really coming and they are not getting better in mathematics. And so from this level, going up to the tertiary level, secondary school, tertiary, and so on, we are not seeing a better.
Adebayo, we have okay. I'm sure he's done. Okay, thank you very much. How do we enhance the performance in mathematics with our learners right from the preschool to the junior high level where they write an external exams? Great, thank you. And then, what role do you think technology should play in education? The role of technology in education. Thank you very much. So, my dear panelists, I think Mr. Prince Salom Mauju has also joined. So, welcome, Prince Salom. He's one of our panelists here. So, the question here is so, Ralph, and then today the question here we have is what role do you think technology should play in education, and how do we enhance performance in mathematics across all levels? Great. And then how can we create a more inclusive and supportive learning environment? Great. Please, any response from any of us? Anybody coming up with any response? Okay. That's all. Please go ahead. Thank you. That's all. Please go ahead. Unmute yourself and then.
Okay, thank you. Creating an inclusive and supportive learning environment. It involves a lot of activities. The school has to be intentional about this. If you want to have an inclusive education or an inclusive curriculum, it has to be intentional. This has to be factored in the general operations of the school. For example, we need to look at issues around inclusive practices. That is a diverse curriculum. We need to incorporate diverse perspectives and then cultures in our teaching and learning. We need to also ensure physical and digital accessibility. So we need to make available, that means we need to have a well-resourced computing lab, looking at the curriculum we have and then the structure of our examination, the recent BEC that has been written. We've realized that everything has changed. Schools that are not well equipped when it comes to technology, information technology, computing, they will not be performing well in the final exams. We need to also look at language support. The school has to provide a lot of learning resources that will aid the study of languages in the schools. As a teacher, you need to do an extensive work to be able to get a lot of resources that you can get from your in your capacity before the school adapt to it. As we are talking now, there are very good schools now that don't even have a library, and there is no attempt to have any materials for the children to be studying apart from their textbooks. This will also not work well when we are talking about inclusive. So we need to provide a lot of resources. And then a supportive environment. The environment has to be rich. The school environment has to be very rich. This comes with fostering positive teacher-student relationship. The relationship that has to exist between the teacher and then the learner shouldn't be a lion and then any other animal relationship. It should be a relationship that will be positive, so that the children can approach the teachers and then express, give a feedback on all that they have learned. We can also look at safe spaces. We need to create a safe environment in our schools. This will also aid in inclusive practices. We need to diversify our activities. We shouldn't be static as a school. Let's incorporate a lot of activities in our schools. If we are able to do that, we'll be able to have an enriched curriculum, so that the children will be able to have a broader knowledge. Special events need to be celebrated in the school. For example, Independence Day, the month of October like this is a breast cancer awareness month. A lot of schools have not done anything. They have not created any awareness for the children to have an element of learning in it. Let us mark days like Independence Day, Farmers Day, other international days that are not even marked in Ghana, that are not holidays. Let us incorporate them in our calendars. It opens up the minds of the children. We can also have field trip. Field trip is very, very important, which we normally call excursion. I have differentiated between a field trip and excursion. Excursion is more like a fun base, whilst a field trip has an element of learning, where there are activities like pre-preparation activities, field trip activities, and post-field trip activities, where children can take pictures, videos, take notes of some of the places they have visited. And then this can be used in the classroom. So field trip or excursion is very, very important as we want to encourage an inclusive learning. Regular feedback is very, very important. If we are doing all these things and you are not getting a feedback from students, parents, and then teachers, you will not have a very rich, inclusive in our curriculum. So I think maybe involvement of stakeholders. We can also invite other resource persons, not necessarily teachers, but maybe a pastor, a lawyer, a doctor. We can create awareness week. Some of the schools, they have this awareness week, but it is not properly celebrated or it is not marked well. We can invite resource persons to the school to come and share their professions with their children, and then take questions from them, and you'll be surprised how the children will engage these professionals in the critical questions in their field. So when we do all this thing, we open up the minds of our children, and then they will be able to have an enriched academic life. Thank you very much. And then a question was asked on the mathematics. It's a serious issue, mathematics, English, and science. The first point is that a lot of schools, the teachers who are handling these subjects, they are not supposed to handle them because someone will just come to your school and say, oh, I can teach math, and just give some surface demonstrations and all that. Then you take the person. But there are details, there are things that are supposed to be done for the children to be able to understand the topics It's not enough for you to be able to solve a mathematics question on the board for children to copy. No, we need to use a lot of resources, learning resources. Mathematics needs to be taught as a practical subject. It shouldn't be taught as always looking for S and Y. We need to find out what is the S and what is the Y. We need to teach foundational topics in mathematics. Why question is not only, we shouldn't be teaching only how, but we should also look at why. If we are able to do that, we'll be able to teach the foundations. That is why when you go to the higher level of education, before you teach, you need to be a PhD holder, which means that you have studied the foundations of the subject area that you are going to teach. But we need to be intentional when we are employing teachers to come and handle this subject. We need to demystify the mathematics concept. Sometimes, or in most times, it looks scary to the children. Let us be practical. These angles, teaching of these angles and all that. We can go out, we can create shapes, and then let the children understand it. Not just opening textbooks and ask them to find angles and calculate angles and all that, and use these vocabularies as opposite, adjacent, tan theta and all that. No, those things can be taught in a practical way. So to the school leaders, a lot of training has to go into teaching of mathematics. So if you are bringing people into your school to come and teach, or to come and take the teachers through some training, we shouldn't only do classroom management, behavioral issues. We can look at it in a subject base. So you bring an expert in mathematics to come and take your teachers through the mathematics concept. And then we can bring teachers in to come and handle them on English concept. Because there are a lot of things that we teach in the English language that will not make the children to pass their exams. So on that one too, this is what I want to say about it. And then there's a question on technology, the role of technology in education. It's a serious issue now that we need to be, as a school, we need to do a lot of investment in technology. We need to develop learning management systems. COVID has really exposed us on this. We need to begin by letting the children know the essence or the importance of technology through practical activities. Not just buying the gadget and give it to the children and then start saying, oh, open to this app, do this. No, we need to do a lot of work on the children. When you go to a lot of schools, they have this well-equipped labs and then internet connectivity and everything. But the teachers themselves, they don't know the importance of those things, and they don't know how to use those tools to enhance academic work. So they rather use it for TikTok, Facebook, social media, and all those things. But there are a lot of things that we can use the technology for to aid academic work. Now AI is the thing now. We need to use a lot of AI tools to be able to enhance our teaching and learning. When you do this, the school will benefit, the teachers will benefit, and then the children will also benefit. And it will give a school a unique school that everybody can be, want to be identified with your school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Shalom.
Hi, good evening. Right. Just as Ralph was saying, I'd want to share a thought. I I think that we as school teachers and school leaders are quick to identify a child with some disability. As it stands now, I'd want to say point blank that we also should note that we also have teachers who have teaching disabilities. And this is actually making teaching and learning, or teaching to understand by the students, very difficult in our schools. So just as KS Consult and Kingsley is doing this amazing program schedules, let's work at a program where we can actually get teachers to identify some defects they have as teachers, how they can come out of it, and how they can also use other teaching methodologies. Ralph mentioned as teachers. So at the end of the day, we're able to identify our disabilities, students, and then come up with successful ways of making sure we deal with these situations. I think that we'll have to start focusing on teachers and some defects that we have when it comes to teaching and learning, or teaching to understand in the classroom. I thought of adding this to Ralph's contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince Salom. Thank you so much. So Etonam was spot on. Thank you. And so I don't know whether they will come in now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I think the two seniors have spoken extensively about the mathematics. I would say that to add my 2 cents to that would be to check the foundations of our mathematics at the very beginning. How is it taught? The way it's taught at the beginning creates the impressions that the learners have. I think that the challenge with mathematics is mostly psychological more than even the methods that's used. It starts from the brain. I can cite myself as a typical example with my love for mathematics up till now. But how is it taught at the foundational stages? Now you could realize that for most schools they have one teacher teaching all the subjects across grades. So we can have like one teacher in grade 1, one teacher in grade 2, and like our second speaker said, some teachers have their general biases. So if that's not relatively checked, then there's a problem, because if there's a teacher who is not really inclined to the mathematics, then the teaching of the mathematics, there will be a deficit in that area. So most of the times, the challenge with mathematics begins at the foundational stage. How is it taught? If you have one teacher teaching across, maybe till grade 6, there's one teacher handling all the subjects, then the school leaders really need to check how they are doing it. If not, then I would propose that you bring in like a subject expert or a teacher who is inclined to that particular subject. It's not only for the mathematics, all subjects. Somebody would dodge English because it has a lot of strands and the person cannot handle that. Somebody would dodge the agriculture and science because he or she is not privileged to some information in there. So as much as possible, if we don't have subject teachers teaching, I have a personal philosophy that even for some subjects, especially the core subjects, at the very beginning stage, like grade 1 through, there should be specific subject teachers who are qualified in that area to teach, so that you know that the teacher handling mathematics in grade 1 is a qualified mathematics teacher, so that I don't have a grade 1 teacher who is teaching all the subjects and then would want to dodge some strands even because they are foundational. And it's a building block, scaffolding, one precept upon precept. If a precept is missed because a teacher decided to dodge it, then there's a deficit. Once there's a deficit, learners tend to have dissatisfactions and some negative feelings towards it. So we should, as school leaders, check how the subject is being handled. Sometimes, even with the way the note is presented, we should have vast knowledge about how it is, how the curriculum demands it to be, so that we can equally speak to it. And once we realize that even speaking to it is not addressing the challenges, then we think of other ways to have it done. So, not only for the mathematics, but for all the subjects. Then, speaking to the technology, I would say technology is part of education as much as possible. Now we have learners doing our homeworks with AI. I've seen that a couple of times, not once or twice. So technology is part of our education now because the world is changing and it's advancing. So technology is part. As a school, as teachers, we need to direct our learners to the right use of the technology by inculcating them in our classroom activities, in our school activities, in our assignments that we give to them home. They should be directed as to the best ways that it can be used to enhance their learning. So as much as possible, we get parents involved. This is what we want them to do. Maybe this and this and this tool is what we want them to use for, so that we know exactly how we are directing them, because we cannot do away with it. If you say, oh, children are going to use AI to do their homework, so they are not supposed to be introduced to it, they will go home and you are not there, and they will do it. So inculcating it in our classrooms and teaching the learners the right way to choose it, I think will be the best practices for us, because we cannot dodge it. There is no way we can do away with it. Your school may not have technological tools, but a child will be privileged to it at home. So having that knowledge of how it's supposed to be used and the best way it's supposed to be used is very, very important. Get projectors, get desktop, establish a computer lab. If there's no lab, technological tools that can aid, bring your own devices. Any other way that you can inculcate them, because trust me, if you dodge it, it will come back and bite you. So technology is really part of our education now, and there is nothing we can do about it. I think we dodged one of the questions. There was a lady who asked a question about a learner who will not settle for anything unless he or she's request is or demand is given before they settle to learn. If the person is still here, what I would say is that that needs to be looked into. That really, really needs to be looked into per the level of the learner. It needs to be looked into. If it's at a very young age, at the foundational stage, then there should be some communication between you, the teacher, the school management, and the parents, so that you can be able to ascertain the reason for that particular behavior. You, the teacher, cannot handle it alone, and maybe as a school, you cannot handle it alone. So work hand in hand with the parents, because maybe the child has been trained to get whatever he or she wants at home, or however it is. Maybe it may be anything. So please really delve into it. Don't let it just like this child always is like this, so let's do it for him, because the world is not like that. So that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. So I cannot give a direct intervention for that, because it's not only on your part as a teacher to get solution for that. It has to be hand in hand with the child's parents, with the school, so that you can be able to really ascertain the premise behind the child's behavior before you can find solutions to it. So just to say a few, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Our panelists, thank you for your responses. Great. So can we take the last set of questions? The last set of questions. Our last set of questions. Thank you. Elizabeth Ifwa Kwashi says thank you to you. Thank you. Do we have some last set of questions? Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you so much. So we have taken note of the areas where the questions have actually leaked from. So we will be drawing a poll on them to see whether we are to put together some webinars on them as well to give better and better details to these and more practical examples and other communications on these areas. So thank you so much for the feedback, for the questions we have shared. We appreciate you so much. As Dede mentioned, we had some question on the school leaders platform, and we tried giving feedback and responses to them, to the one who is concerned. I think we appreciate all those who brought in some suggestions. We have also contacted our brother, and so we have a clear roadmap in helping. For most of the things that most of us have indicated here, the KS Consult has plans for 2025 in unleashing a whole CPD calendar for the year. And so for schools that have challenges in trying to help their teachers and for the sake of cost, please be rest assured that we have you sorted out already. And so for the common group ones, we are going to have them as retreats at the beginning of the term. So our next retreat will be in January before school open. Please just get yourself prepared. Somewhere in the first week of December, we would actually open up for registration. And because we will need to have a rented venue and get some logistics, that will come with a little bit of commitment and fee. And so get ready. School leaders, I think this one you need to sponsor your teachers. Teachers, you need to also sponsor yourselves to come for this very one. This one will take place at Don Bosco Center. And so we would focus on the new curriculum or our curriculum we are using now, the standard based and the common core. Again, I also want to share with you that for the issue of the mathematics, even though our guest panelists have addressed it, we have an episode of mathematics, a series running in the whole of November for mathematics. So this is something that is coming to only those of you who are here for the first time, that in the month of November, we are running a series of mathematics sessions for all the 4 Saturdays in the month of December, in the month of December. All the 4 Saturdays we are running, the month of November, we are running all the 4 Saturdays for mathematics. So please just watch out. We will send the flyers. It is for your teachers. It is for the school leaders. We want to see how best we can make mathematics fun as a subject. We want to see how best we can explain the concept of mathematics by applying the everyday things in our homes, in our schools as examples. And so we want to bring maths to you, the ordinary teacher, to understand and to know how to teach it. And so our very key examiner, who happens to be an examiner for mathematics for both WAEC and WASSCE, he will be helping us, the VEC and the WASSCE, he will be helping us to do that, Mr. Frank. And so please let's watch out for this in November. In November, all our webinars is going to be on mathematics, teaching and learning of mathematics. And so don't watch out for anything. If you miss out on any of the series, unless you pick up a recorded version from our YouTube page. So I would pause here, allow Godwin to share with us something small on our social media handles so that we can all come in line with us. Please, we would encourage the schools to like our page. We will also like to follow you so that whatever we share, your parents also get to know what you are participating and what you are getting on boarding. So, Godwin, please, if you can take the floor and then share the social media handles so that we can get everyone here to join us and then to be part of us in all our facets as well. Thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, I equally did not hear much on that. Have what have you found to be the most effective ways to provide feedback to students, and how do you use this feedback to improve their learning? Okay. Did I hear? Did they talking about feedback? What was your response? Did they capture feedback?
I captured a bit of feedback, but it
Okay.
had to do with the questioning. So,
Okay.
uh, if this one is really about feedback from the learners, then what I would say to that is that the school should really encourage an open relationship between the learners and the teachers. I always tell some of the teachers that after teaching and saying, "Do you understand?" the answer to "Do you understand?" always is yes, we do. And it's always going to be in a chorus where you will not be able to detect who was saying no or the facial expressions that come with it. But really encouraging a relationship outside the classroom would help, where learners can approach teachers and share their concerns about various subjects or various topics that they learned that they didn't get would be helpful. Then we always institute a three-way discussion where we generalize as open days. Parents should come and see the books and ask the teachers questions or have discussions and all of that. But we've not deliberately had an open day for our learners where it will just be the teachers and the learners. There should be something like that to address a two-way discussion, not a three-way. Three-way involves their parents, but two-way discussions is yourself and the learners, where if you can't do for all the subjects, you can do for your core subjects or for your seniors or the upper classes who can verbally express themselves very well. Now, for the lower ones, there are really diverse ways to get feedback from them. It can be in your exercises, it can be in your activities, it can be in your general observation. Even at the lower level, as far as the preschool levels, you can get feedback from the learners through their play. They don't even have to come and tell you anything, but the way the learners play, the way they write, the way they express themselves, the way they socialize, it gives feedback. So feedback is not also always verbal, but it's through observations, it's through activities. You can get feedback of what you taught as a teacher through the way your work is presented. As a school leader, the outcomes of the children's test examinations, general behavior, school activities can give you feedback as to what is going on. And equally, I would encourage a general feedback in the form of surveys and meetings where we don't avoid the realities of ground, but we decide to be open because I'll say again, like my director would say, feedback is a gift. And once you receive that gift, it sets the tone for every other thing that you can do because you may not know where you are not getting it right if you are not open to feedback, and you may not know equally where you are getting it right and have to continue if you are not open to feedback. So there are diverse ways, every other way, but encourage a two-way discussions between the learners and the teachers, and let there be a relationship. Though the respect and everything is there, but the learners should be able to approach the teachers, talk to them, share their concerns, because sometimes even in the midst of the class, it's not even sometimes, in the midst of the class, some learners would not express their dissatisfactions because they feel they'll be chastised by their friends. So it's very, very important that teachers have open relationship, and school leaders encourage that among the learners and the teachers, so that the learners can comfortably approach them in and out of the classroom to share their challenges with them. And let's have an instituted system that encourages that as much as possible. And for all other levels where the learners cannot express themselves, equally there should be some instituted ways that teachers can speak to the challenges of their learners or to the growth of their learners. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Once again, I think you have taken one side of the feedback question, but what I see here, it's also requiring us to provide ways that the teacher can provide feedback to the students. And I would like to touch briefly on that. So, just as the day had actually enumerated the ways that the teacher can actually give feedback or get feedback, we are also looking at where the teacher engages the learner and he is able to give feedback to the learner to help improve the learning process. So, one of the things that we know about is that in the course of the teaching and learning, you can ask questions that they said, and then the porous answers that you get will not be able to help you to ascertain whether the learner is getting it or not. And so you can use our techniques like and strategies like the think, pair, share, where you have the learners pair up and then discuss what they think they have understood about what has been taught, and then they share it uh, as a team. And then also you can also have the square pair share, and then also that can also be done with a group of four people in it, and then being able to share their ideas, reflect on whatever they have also absorbed, and be able to give up. Another, which I think it is not too popular in our parlance, is actually something we call 3 stars and a wish. 3 stars and a wish. And I want to encourage a lot of us to use that, because 3 stars and a wish is when you allow the learners to come up with 3 things that they have learned today that they think that they are taking home, they are taking away with them today, and one thing that they wish that you reiterate or you re-explain or help them to understand better. This is a feedback too. This is very, very important, and it works so well. Then also, right, or the wall right. We have something we call the wall right. It's like a post you have done on the wall, and then you write on what you have learned from the lesson today, and somebody else goes to read what you have learned today, and then you move to the next one. Another person also writes something, you also read it. So you read from different learners what they all have to share about what they have learned. There are very interesting ways, and I think that some of these strategies I would be sharing with us in the course of the week at our daily capsules. I'll be sharing one of these strategies. I have about 10 of these strategies that I'll be sharing with us in the course of the week. And I believe that they will come a long way to help us. Now, when these strategies are well thought through and are well planned, they have a way they can impact the learning process, because it's a way the teacher can actually get feedback and be able to learn. For instance, there is one called the green and the red cards, the green and the red cards balance. So with the green and red cards, you cut out green and red cards, and then you give it to some of them call, or some people call it, the traffic indications of learning. So all that a learner has is that sometimes he had green, yellow, and red. depending on the level. So if it is the upper primary JHS, you can just do the green and the red. But if it is the lower primary preschool level, you can do the red, yellow, and then the green. Now, what does this mean? Imagine you teaching as a teacher, and in the course of the lesson, the learner is supposed to push one of these cards to express how he or she is getting the lesson, how he or she is understanding whatever is being taught. By so doing, if the learner is pushing the green, it so processes to tell you as the teacher that, oh, the learner is really getting go with me. If he's showing the yellow, it tells you that he's not there yet. He's still struggling. Is there any way you can put it to make him understand? And if he's showing the red, it tells you, or the green, it tells you where he's gotten to. So these are things, these are all strategies that we can use. And as I said, in the course of the week, I will be sharing on the KS Consult daily capsules for us to reflect on it, to appreciate what are some of these strategies that we can use. And trust me, as they said, these strategies work to a large extent. They have their own unique ways of making impact in the learners. There was also another question that talked about what strategies do you use to help students develop critical thinking skills, and how do you assess their progress in this area? So for critical thinking skill, which it has been highlighted earlier, it is a 21st century skill. And critical thinking must evolve or must manage in everything we do. We are supposed to help learners to think that the goal of every thinking process is right from remembering to creation. And so, right from as they did mention, from the Bloom's taxonomy, it is a lower order thinking to a higher order thinking. And so that process must be experienced. And so when the learner begins to think about a problem, and that is why, colleagues, team, my dear school leader, it is important that today we do not stand and be able to bring out thoughts and responses that makes meaning. Think out of the context and be able to bring out responses that gives very good validation to the questions that have been asked. And so I think that this is a very good one. And we all need to really emphasize on the fact that we don't need to stress on children who take a longer time to think through their questions and be able to give very good responses. Thinking is a very important part of our life. Thinking is a very important skill that we need to do to be able to bring out the best out of the learners. And so we need to allow the learners to do reflective thinking, to be able to think about the things that we ask them, for them to be able to bring out responses that fit in. So thank you very much all, and thank you very much Dede. Thank you very much Raphael. Thank you very much Prince Salom. Please, team, once again, as I said, for the month of November, we are rolling out the math series. And so we're looking out for each and every one of us to get our teachers who are subject teachers, who are in mathematics, and who are class teachers in mathematics, school leaders, and everyone to be on board. The resource person is prepared for the 4 weeks for all of us to take us through this very important activity. So thank you very much. Veronica Agbechi, if you are here with us, please unmute and say a prayer with us before we go. Thank you so much, Vero. You've been an ardent participant of our webinars. So if you can hear me, kindly unmute yourself and say a prayer with us before we go.
Let us pray. Our Lord and Master Jesus Christ, we thank you for how far you take us throughout this program. As we are leaving to our various bed, let your blood showers upon us. Take us through the whole night, so that God willing, tomorrow we wake up, we shall give you the glory and adoration. We thank you in Jesus' name. We pray thanksgiving. Amen.